Oh, now what? Hey, thanks for dropping by. Can't Let Her Die DIY. If you found this video, you found this channel, you must be interested in checking out your brakes. Are you having problems with your brakes? Are they squealing? Are they grinding? Are they smoking? Are they overheating? Do your brakes feel spongy? Well, you need to inspect those things. I got the brake pads right here. Pads for the front of the Chevy Colorado. That's what this is. 2005 Chevy Colorado. That's right, 18 years old. 427,000 kilometers on it. I'm trying to make it to 500,000. Anyway, what I'm really doing, to be honest with you, I have a safety inspection coming up. I'm actually past due. I got to get moving on this. Anyway, I know what's going to happen. They're going to go down there, find nothing wrong with this because I've been working on it, and so have you been working on yours. And then they're going to just say, oh, you need new brakes, pads, all the way around, or brakes and rotors all the way around. No. So what I always do is I go in, I take a look, and I check my brakes. And if I need brake pads, or if they're halfway worn out, then I switch them out so that I know I can go in there for a safety inspection and get out of there without spending a cent, because I don't really want to be paying them to put brake pads on. That's what I'm doing here today. I'm going to inspect the front brake pads and rotors and see if everything's moving and working properly in there and it's wearing the proper way. And if not, I have the supplies with me to replace them out, so I can replace it with some brake pads and that sort of stuff. And that's what I recommend you should do too, because we're all in this together and we don't want to pay labor. Anyway, if you want to see the tools you may need, if you're doing this the first time, come check this out. I've got them laid out right here. You'll need a jack and a jack stand for sure. Don't try to do this without a jack stand for safety. You need a ratchet and two sockets, a 13mm, a 19mm, and an extender. Kind of helps. Now this is a torque wrench for torquing the lug nuts down to spec. You can get away without using it if you don't have one. I use a channel locks, pliers. This is anti-seize grease. Since you're in there, you might as well apply some grease. Anti-seize silver grade. This is silicone brake lubricant. I use that for the slide pins. This is the brake kit I was talking to you about. The number, it is premium gold. I always go with good quality brake pads. I think you should too. You need a light. You can, and I use this, and I'll show you why in the video. So if you want to go back, throw on your old clothes. I'll throw on my old clothes. Meet me back here in 5 minutes. We'll tear that wheel apart. We'll get in there and see what's going on with the brakes. See what needs changing and what not. So, hey, I'm glad you're back. Come on in. I want to show you where I put the jack and the jack stands. Here's the jack right there. It's on the frame. Right here, it's a solid piece. I put it right before the cross member piece. It goes across, just in front of that. And my jack stand, I position that right in front of the other cross member piece on that frame. There's a nice little groove right there. Fits in the jack stand really nicely. Always use jack stands for safety. So once I got my jack, I lower it down on the jack stand. I got strength there, and then I jack up a little bit so I get a secondary level of safety with the jack. I got the rear tires chocked. We're good to go. Okay, the tire is off the ground. We can go to town. So the first thing we do is pull off the hubcap. It becomes a little bowl to put the lug nuts in. Okay, with your 19mm, take off the lug nuts. Okay, the tire comes right off. And put that in a safe place. Look at the rotor. Beautiful. On inspection, you can see the rotor there. There's no grooves on this side. Hopefully the other side's the same way, but it's looking pretty good. You can see the anti-seize grease there. Made the tire come off very easy. There's no rust there. And what we need to do now to make it a lot easier is turn the steering wheel to the right. That will pull this caliper mechanism out here where we can access it a lot easier. So I'm going to do that. Okay, just in case you don't know, this is the caliper right here. The brake pads are inside there. We're going to remove this part so that we can examine the brake pads. This is the bracket. The caliper bracket goes down there, and these are the caliper bolts that hold everything on. So 13 millimeter upper and lower. We're going to attack the upper caliper bolt with our 13 millimeter socket here, the one you have at home, just like that, and break those free. Now, our first complication, you see this turning here? So we're going to put a channel locks on there, stop that from turning. There, broke it free. It should be good. Now, if you had torqued them down to spec last time, these should come off quite easy. And I did it last time, so I know they're torqued down to spec. Okay, don't need the channel locks on that guy. And once you break them free, they're finger loose. That's great. That's what we want. Okay, since we're only inspecting our brake pads, or hopefully we're inspecting our brake pads, we're not replacing them, we can clamshell this. It's a little different. Now, sometimes it's stuck, and this one is. Now, you know why? Because the piston, the brake piston, is pushing on the brake pad that runs like this, and it's squeezing the rotor. So there's not enough movement in there. Now, what a lot of people do, they get a screwdriver in there and they pry that pad away from the rotor. But I don't like doing that. There's a better way. And that's what we'll try. If you have a C-clamp, you can put it right here and put on this side, put it on the bracket. Not the caliper, but the bracket right there. There's the caliper bracket. And if you put it on that and you apply some pressure, sometimes you can move the caliper just a little bit. What that is essentially doing is pushing in on the piston with the brake pad. The same thing you would do by prying, but you could gouge the brake pads and stuff. See, there, you can see that's loose. On the upper bracket bolt, we'll just get those threads started a little bit. And now, what I wanted to show you was you can do this, right? And that way you can see your brake pads. And there they are. Lovely. Let's take a look. They're looking pretty good. We got, you can see there's the metal part and there's the brake pad material. It's quite thick and it's the same on both sides. So we got even wear. The rotor was good on the front. We know that. Is there any grooves? Probably not, because the metal is not, we don't have metal to metal contact there. So we're looking good here. Like, I don't have to do any more. These brake pads look great. Right, I do have a set of brake pads to put on, but these are wearing out perfectly. So what I'll do is just apply new grease to the slide pins. You can do that. It's got grease in there, right? The boot looks good. And these are pretty good too. So it doesn't really need too much, but since I'm here, and since this is a video, we'll put some new grease on here. Put these back in, reassemble this. But that's how you inspect your brake pads. But I want to show you the grease. Very important to put as much of the right slide pin grease as you can on these things. Now this is silicone brake lubricant for sliding pins. You need the right type of grease for that. So we will do it, and I'm running low. Surprise, surprise. But we only need a little bit. We can squeeze some out of this last container. There we go. Looks like cat poop. There we go. A little bit on there like that. Spread it around, work it in there. Get a good slippery, lubricated surface. and right around the lip that holds the boot on there, so that we will get a good seal, prevent water from going in there. Okay, got good contact, good spring back there. And now we will do the other one. Since we are here anyway, let's get that down. And probably wouldn't do this. They look pretty good, but it's always good to apply grease to these things. You can't put too much in there. I don't think so. You don't want to tear the boot, so try to get that off without tearing it. There. So, even though there is grease on it, but it's not a whole bunch of grease. And we like to have a whole bunch of grease on there. Squeeze her out and we are good. So these slide pins have a tendency to run out of grease after a while, and they'll seize up, they'll stop sliding. Then it's usually the back brake pad that wears out first. It starts jamming up against the rotor and wears down that brake pad prematurely. The front one looks good. You can kind of see the front one. You can see the front rotor. There's no lines in it, but you can't see the back of the rotor. So you can't tell if it's wearing grooves. Once that brake pad gets worn down to metal, it's metal on metal contact. It puts grooves on your back of your rotor, and then you need a new rotor. And on this model, on the early Colorados, it's very difficult to change the rotor. You'd have to pull off the hub assembly to get the rotor off. So we're trying to avoid that, so that's why we do inspections. Brake pad inspections, make sure our brake pads are not getting low. So just do it before safety inspection time, every time, to make sure they don't tell you need new set of pads, new set of rotors or whatever. We don't want, we want them saying everything's a-okay. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm doing this video. Just a little bit of maintenance, true maintenance on this. So now I like to put a little bit of anti-seize grease on anywhere susceptible to metal contact. So just around those pistons, like that. Those are the two pistons. The push on the brake pads. Put some right there. I put some right here, and right here. That's what's touching those brake pads. This kind of helps you with noise. And those three tabs, right? This will help you with, it'll remove any noise. What happens, sometimes you get surface rust on these and they start squeezing on your brake pads prematurely. Now it's too tight and it's starting to wear down your rotor, starting to wear down your pads, because when rust builds up, it expands out, and that's where people get problems, and sometimes you get squeaking too. So kind of like to do that when I'm in here. And the more things like this you do, the less problems you have. Anti-seize, silver grade, we love it. So now that we got that done, we can put this all back together, because everything is looking good in here. Our slide pins are sliding. Our brake pads are wearing, not barely even worn. Even though I do have a set, it's looking good. These are good. Everything's happy. So I'm happy. And you should be happy. If you want to see a problem where there's a lot of, where I replace the calipers and that sort of stuff, where the slide pins are seized. I have a video on that, and your system may look more like that video. It's a longer video. This is short and sweet. That's long and detailed, but it's good information. You might want to check that video out. Get these things started. They're not cross-threaded, and we'll slap this puppy back together. Too easy. And we'll have to find the torque specs on those. So we'll just snug them up for now. With your 13 millimeter. If you have a torque wrench, you set it on 29 foot-pounds and torque those caliper pins right there. So it's not very tight. Right? If you don't have a torque wrench, just take a mental note when you're loosening these up how tight they were, and just try to imitate the tightness when you get back. I torqued that down. I've torqued this down. We got everything's good. We're right back where we started. We throw the tire on. We're good. And Bob's your uncle. Good to go. So we've inspected this. The rotor's good. The brake pads are good. Brakes are good. And we go in our inspection. We can be confident that we're not going to get them saying, yeah, you need new brake pads and rotors all the way around. No, I don't, buddy. They're good. I just checked them out myself. So if I helped you see how you can do a quick inspection just before it's safety inspection time, just to make sure you don't need brake pads on there and your rotors are good. If I helped you out, give me a thumbs up. Maybe send a comment to me. I really like it. Helps me and it keeps me motivated to do more videos. And if you need more detail, and you probably do, I have a longer one. It covers everything. I replace everything on here. It's really good if you got a Colorado, a Canyon, an Isuzu, or even a Hummer. Very similar, 05 to 2012. It's great. Now you're going to see the fastest hands on the internet. Put a tire back on. Watch this. Check this out. Look how fast I am. I'm going to apply for a pit crew member at a raceway. I'm so fast.
Get set, go.
Wow, that was quick. But you need to torque it down to 100 foot-pounds. Don't forget that. These tires will fall right off. 100 torque pounds. Yeah. It was quick, but I don't think NASCAR is going to be contacting me anytime soon. I'm fast, but I'm not exactly as quick as they need to be. It's all good. And remember, most important thing, like and subscribe.